Hi, I'm Linda with No Frills ASMR. Some of you know I'm painting the dining room right now very slowly because I have so many other things doing. So just whenever there's a chance to paint a little bit, that's happening. And in one of the corner cabinets, it's like a built-in in the dining room. There's a couple of drawers and cabinets where when people are coming over to make the house look clean, I just stuff everything. And then sometimes I forget to ever go back and look at what I stuffed. And so I pulled out some things and I found this, which I don't even remember owning, but I imagine I probably bought it when my son, he was in 7th grade, and his friends were signing up to play football, and he probably weighed 40, maybe 38 pounds, and he was so skinny and tiny, and he'd wear this football with the pads and the helmet, and he looked so cute. But some of his friends at that age were big, bulking guys with beards, He just hadn't hit that spot. But anyway, I think I bought this to talk about the rules of football with him. But I think, if I remember correctly, he saw this Complete Idiot's Guide and thought I was like not being nice to him or something. And I was like, no, that's just the name of the book. But I think it just got put away. I never looked at it. But anyway, I thought maybe we could just see if there's anything in here that looks fun, since it is, well, today is Sunday. Probably by the time you see this video, it'll be Monday. But this is The Complete Idiot's Guide to Football, 2nd edition. And it says here, one of Joe's gifts is the ability to clearly explain to anyone watching a game what is happening. That's why he's one of the elite TV analysts. He's taken that same approach to this guide. You'll know the game better after reading this book. Brian Billick, head coach, Baltimore Ravens. Billick, did I say that right? Joe Theismann. Okay. Oh, this is kind of cool. Right here is a tear here so you can carry it with you. The 12 basic referee signals. So both hands over your head is touchdown. Like that is first down. This signal means a team has earned a first down. The referee points his hands towards the defense. First downs are benchmarks. Go 10 yards, get another 4 plays. You don't score points with a first down. You gain time and opportunity. I do have a video. I have like 4 different videos on the rules of football, football basics, and the different team divisions and conferences. And there's a playlist called Sports. I think it's called like Sports. And that's in there along with like hockey, baseball. I don't know what else. All right, this is incomplete pass, penalty refused, missed field goal, or missed extra point. So you see that and your team's doing something, you're like, dang, man, dang. This is holding like that. That's when another player is like illegally holding a player. Offsides is at their waist. This is the signal for offsides, signifying that the defense crossed the line of scrimmage before the ball was snapped. Yeah, that happened a bunch in a game I watched recently. I'm trying to remember. It may have been a Steelers game. There was like offside. Interference. So that's like that. Is when a player illegally disrupts an opposing player's ability to catch the ball. The ball is placed at the site of the infraction. Timeout. This signal means a timeout has been called. Oops. Personal foul. What's the difference here? This one is 2 open hands, like that it looks like. And this, it looks like he has a fist and then a straight hand. I think that's the difference. Intentional grounding. Intentional grounding. This is a signal for intentional grounding, which means that the quarterback threw a pass that he had no intention of trying to complete. This is a 10-yard penalty and loss of a down. Yeah, that usually happens when the quarterback thinks he's about to get sacked. Then he might toss it, I think. Chop block or clipping. So he's kind of bent over and he goes down. If the referee uses both hands to strike his thighs, followed by the personal foul signal, it's a chop block signal. If he uses only one hand striking the back of his calf, followed by a personal foul signal, it is a clipping signal. Both are 15-yard penalties. That's a big penalty. And then delay of game. This signal means that the delay of the game or excessive timeouts. And then I don't know if I've seen that one. He's got his hand up and it says crowd noise. Have you ever seen that? This is the signal for crowd noise penalty. Loss of team time out or a 5-yard penalty. Wait, what's on the defense for excessive crowd noise? This signal also can mean dead ball. Excessive crowd noise is when crowd noise makes it virtually impossible for the visiting offense to communicate. I feel like that's every game. I'm not sure I've ever seen a crowd noise penalty. All right, we're going to have to read through all this. But let's just see what's in this book out of curiosity. Okay, this was published in 2001. Wow, think about that. That's 23 years. And there have been rule changes. The kicking this year. Learning the rules and lore. Part 2, learning the offense and penalties. Learning the defense and special teams. College and pro. The essentials of fandom. Okay, maybe we'll look at that. I don't know why. And appendix. So you want to be a Monday morning quarterback. Looking at the field and the ball, you get 6 points to do what? Every player has a different job. Coaching, win, get fired, or go on TV. That's funny. Understanding the lore. That might be interesting. Let's flip to that and see. Oh, that was a pretty good flip. Let's see what that's about. How football began, how football evolved, names and games you should know. The frozen tundra of... Hey, I got my G-set right here. I did a video on Green Bay, but it keeps falling off of old Bilbo Baggins there. Every American should know that George Washington and his troops endured bitter cold at Valley Forge in order to defeat the invading British Army. Every football fan should know that Bart Starr and his Green Bay Packer teammates endured bitter cold at Lambeau Field in order to defeat the invading Dallas Cowboys. These two heroic stories obviously don't compare, except that I just compared them. See, football is what you make it, and the NFL has made football into folklore. Remember these words, the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. Now say them with a deep, theatrical baritone, and imagine those two football teams playing on December 31st, 1967. As the temperature fell to 13 degrees below zero, with a wind chill factor of 50 below. Okay, that's legit cold. Say the words to yourself. 13 below zero, and imagine the two teams, the Green Bay Packers and the Dallas Cowboys, staring each other down with the NFL championship on the line. The winner would go on to Super Bowl II. With 16 seconds left on the clock, the Packers were on Dallas's 1-yard line, trailing Dallas 17-14 and 1 yard away from scoring. 2 plays in a row the Packers tried to run, and on both plays their running back slipped. It came down to one play. One play. One on the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. Oh, we got to find out what happens. Bart Starr, quarterback of the Packers, walked to the line, and across from him stood Bob Lilly and Jethro Pugh and the rest of the Dallas Cowboys defense. It was the coldest day in NFL history. Brutal. It was a mean kind of cold. And those two lines of large men stood facing each other. Steam poured from their face masks. Like animals that were exhausted and angry, they dug in. The green and gold of the Packers, face to face against the silver and the blue of the Cowboys. Both sides dug in for the fight, laying it all out for everyone to see. One last time, for one play, one final burst, just one on the frozen tundra. Starr took the ball, and instead of handing off as expected, he was bold. He put his faith in one man, Jerry Kramer, his right guard, who caught Jethro Pugh with a block just right, so Starr could follow Kramer into the end zone. It was power versus power, old-time football. John Facenda, the longtime voice of NFL films, later captured the moment in that phrase because, as Facenda told it in his great baritone, the drama unfolded, you know where this is going, on the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. The Packers went on to win Super Bowl II, 33-14 over the Oakland Raiders. So there you go. Joe's record book. The NFL underwent a metamorphosis in the late 1960s. Prior to merging with the AFL, the NFL did not have two conferences. NFL teams played each other in a championship game. The Super Bowl championship originally was not the NFL championship. I think we went over this in the video I did about the Super Bowl last year. Joe's record book. The first Super Bowl was not called a Super Bowl. It was called the AFL NFL World Championship game. Yeah, I think we went over all that. On November 28th, 1929, Ernie Nevers of the Chicago Cardinals scored 40 points, which is still the record for the most points scored by one player in a single game against the Chicago Bears. He scored 6 touchdowns and kicked 4 extra points. Scored 6 touchdowns and kicked 4 extra points. I wonder if that's changed in the last 20 years when this book was published. Somebody will have to say in the comments. Joe's record book. The most lopsided championship game in history, as of 2001, was on December 8, 1940, when the Chicago Bears beat the Washington Redskins, no longer that name, 73-0. It wasn't until 1943 that all players were required to wear head protectors. A documentary aired on CBS television in October of 1960 brought new light to the allure of the NFL. It was about the middle linebacker of the New York Giants, and it was called The Violent World of Sam Huff. I wonder if that's any good. The highest scoring game of all time, as of 2001, was November 27th, 1966, when the Washington Redskins beat the New York Giants 72-41. The 1970s, when perfect was the standard. That's when I was born, so that sounds about right. Perfect. After Namath won Super Bowl III, the leagues merged and divided into 2 conferences. The the National Football Conference, and the American Football Conference. The name of the merged league remained the NFL. 3 NFL teams, the Baltimore Colts, Cleveland Browns, and Pittsburgh Steelers, joined the AFC. I think we went into this in the conferences and divisions video, I'm pretty sure. Oh, this one, here we go. We talked about this in the Steelers video. We've talked about everything. I have a video about the Steelers, which I'm kicking myself because I forgot to mention the Renegade song in the video. I put it in a short, but I was like, duh. The Immaculate Reception occurred at the end of the first playoff game that the 1970s Steelers team ever won. The Steelers were losing to the Oakland Raiders by 1 point with 5 seconds to play. Steelers quarterback Terry Bradshaw threw a pass that bounced off the Raiders into the outstretched fingertips of running back Franco Harris. Harris ran the ball in for a touchdown. The least you need to know. Okay, the least you need to know. The Green Bay Packers beat Dallas Cowboys in a 13 below weather on the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. Got it. Football evolved from soccer and rugby around the turn of the 20th century. It was a kicking game until 1912, when the value of a touchdown was raised to 6 points, making it the most rewarding way to score. That's kind of interesting. So before that, it was more about the kicking. Joe Namath guaranteed that his AFL New York Jets would beat the heavily favored NFL Baltimore Colts, and he won the game 16-7. Joe Namath, when I was a kid, he was everywhere. I mean, he was on the Wheaties box, but he was also just like on every... They used to have these shows that were like celebrities were competing. I forget they were called Stars. Ugh, I can't think what they're called, but I feel like Joe Namath, he was on everything. He was on like all the game shows. In 1969, the AFL merged with the NFL to form the present-day NFL. The only team that ever went undefeated the entire year, as of 2001, was the 1972 Miami Dolphins. The history of football is full of historic names like coaches George Halas and Vince Lombardi, quarterbacks Joe Montana and Terry Bradshaw, and running backs Jim Brown and Walter Payton. These are names that any idiot could drop, so feel free. Do you think Peyton Manning's named after this Walter Payton, or is that maybe he'd be too old for that? Learning the offense and the penalties. Okay, that's something we have to do still as a penalties. I'm going to do a video with all the penalties, but I haven't had time to study for that one yet. Because that I have to really learn before I can talk about it. Because what I found out is people can get a little angry if you say it wrong. Even though I clearly say I've only studied for an hour. I'll do my best. Let's see the receivers. Okay. How receivers line up. Hold on, let me just see what this is off camera in case it says anything. I don't know. The running backs, great ones, control the game. Halfbacks, fullbacks. The sweep. Strategies. A lot of ways to go 80 yards or one. He's riding that ostrich. Eight plays in NFL history have caught a 99-yard pass. 8 players, excuse me. The longest ever. The most recent was Robert Brooks of the Green Bay Packers on September 11, 1995 against the Chicago Bears. I'm sure that's probably changed. The least you need to know. I wanted to go to the, what was it? It was like something about fans or something, wasn't it? teams. Road to Super Bowl, the business of the game. Television and media. The essential fandom. The ritual of getting dressed. Official gear versus homemade stuff. Joe's top 5 fan outfits in no particular order. Okay, let's see that. The top 5 clubs in terms of sales of merchandise as of 2001. All right, number 5, St. Louis Rams, Minnesota Vikings, Green Bay Packers, Tennessee Titans, and then Dallas Cowboys number 1. Probably Dallas Cowboys still number 1. I bet the Vikings and the Packers are still in the mix. My guess would be, I don't know anything. I'm not sure about Titans. Probably the Steelers would be in this mix. And the Ravens instead of the Rams and the Titans. Don't you think? Or am I wrong? I don't know. Oh, what about Oakland? Just because it's in Vegas, people probably go there and visit and buy their stuff. I don't know. 5 teams have had major changes to their uniform since 1987, as of 2001. Those teams are the Denver Broncos, New England Patriots, New York Jets, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Atlanta Falcons. I'll tell you who has had a major change. The Washington team. Where is his top 5 original fan outfits? Okay. Let's see. I've told you my favorite players, those who I thought were the greatest of all time. Well, I've looked in the stands too, and here are my favorite fan outfits. The Hogettes. The Hogettes are a group of a half dozen or so large men who cheer for the Washington Redskins and identify with the offensive line, which was known as the Hogs. These men, who I believe work at the Pentagon, wear dresses, flowered hats, and pig noses, and they smoke fat cigars. It gives me a sense of calm to know that these men, in dresses and pig noses, spend their days trying to preserve world peace. Okay, the Dog Pound. We talked about this one. The dogs of the Dog Pound are a vivacious, untamed bunch. The Dog Pound originated in the 1980s when defensive back Hanford Dixon and Frank Minifield barked at receivers after they broke up a pass. The fans joined in on the barking, and soon dog masks began appearing in the end zone of the old Cleveland Stadium. This became known as the Dog Pound. The Dog Pound is a mythical place that has been reconstructed in Cleveland with the rebirth of the Browns. Yeah, we did a video on the Browns and the Dog Pound. The insane cold weather bear fans. When it's 0 degrees outside, 5 of them spell bears with their bare chests. 1 letter per chest. Now that's fan dedication. Those guys would be 20 years older now. I wonder if that still happens. I don't know. Raiders fans. They come with shoulder pads with spikes sticking out of them. And then my favorite, Darth Raider. Dressed like Star Wars villain Darth Vader, except his face is silver and black and his helmet has the Raiders logo. Opposing players have compared playing in Oakland with playing in front of a bunch of angry prisoners. Nah, just Raiders fans. I remember when I lived in Baltimore, the Ravens played the Raiders, and the Ravens had a bunch of, let's just say, really tough guys on the team at that time, and the Raiders were like scary. I was like, oh my gosh. The Saints of New Orleans. For years, the New Orleans Saints were so bad that some fans would show up with paper bags over their heads. Oh no, it made a strong statement, and you couldn't help, unless you were on the Saints team, but laugh. Now it seems Saints fans can put the bags away for a while. The future looks promising. Yeah, they have won a Super Bowl since then. Let's see, the least you should know. Least you need to know. If you think that your every action on Sunday morning directly affects the way your team plays on Sunday afternoon, you should know that it's true. Just kidding, but it's still fun to be superstitious. Yeah, that's fun. Football is a fashion show, and logos are designed to sell. You can make your own outfit and have lots of fun. The guys who take their shirts off at games travel in packs and often end up on TV. The joy of being a fan. Yeah, the misery and defeat too. Sometimes. Yeah, go ahead and shout out your team below, all you fans. I know I have a Green Bay Packers fan. I know I have Vikings, Dolphins, Finns. You guys know I always am rooting for my Lions, but that's not my home team. Who else usually writes? I'm trying to think. I think there's a Colts fan who sometimes writes. What am I forgetting? Skull. If an opposing fan becomes obnoxious in your stadium, politely ask him or her to calm down. Point out to the person the circumstances that they really are in. Show the person the wisdom of mathematics, but if the person insists on being obnoxious, don't do the obvious. What, beat him up? I don't know, my son and his girlfriend were at a football game just recently, and there was a guy 2 rows down in front of him who got, hammered, and it really was 2 guys who got hammered from different teams, and they started fighting, and then some dude came from way up high and just punched the one guy in the back of the head. It was crazy. And my son was sort of locked in where he was, so he didn't try to break it up, but I'm like, you shouldn't anyway. They're just gonna beat you up too. I don't know what you can do about that. I don't know. But he felt like the one drunk old guy kind of got beat. He was being obnoxious, but he kind of got sucker punched, and then they were kind of beating him up. Just don't get that drunk, all of you. Anyway, all right. It's too bad that kind of stuff happens. My mom and dad used to go to all the Virginia Tech games, but people started to get so drunk in the stands that one time, and they're old, Sorry, Mom. But one time they were in the stands, this was years ago, and the person behind him was drunk and spilled a whole beer on my mom down her back. And it's freezing cold. And so they had to leave, and that was kind of the last game they went to, because they're just people are just getting too drunk. They come in drunk. Anyway, the least you need to know, you're always safe cooking cheeseburgers when tailgating, but regional fare makes it even better. Oh man, tailgating grilled food, yum. That's fun. If you exercise every day of the week for 5 years, you can justify one tailgate party. But then, happiness is a healthy thing. You decide on limits. Have fun. Fans of opposing teams visiting your stadium are fools. On the other hand, if you visit a foreign stadium, you have great courage. Players appreciate fans. You have no idea how much. Oh, that's nice. Rivalry is the essence of it all. The top 5 rivalries. Okay, what are they? Washington, Dallas, credit for this rivalry goes to George Allen, as I just mentioned, who created it from thin air with a few well-placed comments from a few of his players. It thrived because both teams were good for a long time. Kansas City and Oakland, a non-geographical rivalry that began in the old American Football League. These were the first two AFL teams to go to the Super Bowl, and for many years they battled for AFL and AFC supremacy. Green Bay versus Chicago, a rivalry for the ages that began in the era of Curly Lambeau in Green Bay and George Halas in Chicago. This is a cold weather rivalry built on the frozen tundra and by the wind of the lake. Brr. Cleveland versus Pittsburgh, two blue-collar union towns near the birthplace of professional football, have battled in rancor for years. Now the area is affectionately called the Rust Belt, and the fans' dedication is industrial strength. There have been many epic battles between these two teams. And then Baltimore and Tennessee. These are two rugged football teams that like to run ball and play great defense, and they both win a lot. I'm kind of confused. When I was in Baltimore, I feel like the biggest rivalry was Pittsburgh, but I guess Cleveland and Pittsburgh. I don't know. I didn't follow football that much when I lived in Baltimore because I was working and had 3 little tiny kids, so I wasn't really. So I guess I don't know. The least you need to know. There is nothing more fun than beating your rival just because. Most rivalries are based on geography because it's often more fun to go after someone just like you. Some rivalries are based purely on success of both teams. If two teams are good and meet in a series of meaningful games, a rivalry can soon develop. The Redskins-Cowboys rivalry was created single-handedly by George Allen, and his legacy lives on. There you go. I'm saying Redskins only because that's what's in this book. But yeah, we know they changed their name now. So don't get mad at me. It's just what's here. All right, well, we might come back to this and look at it again some other time. I've just been having trouble uploading long videos, so I don't want to go too long here. I don't know, maybe this book's just too outdated. I'll have to look and see if there's a newer version of it, maybe. Joe Theismann was the winning quarterback for Super Bowl 17. Yeah, I think XVI 17. A 2-time Pro Bowl player and the most productive quarterback ever for the Washington Redskins. In 1983, he was voted MVP of both the NFL and the Super Bowl. He co-hosts ESPN's popular NFL Countdown and Primetime. He has been inducted into the GTE Academic All-American Hall of Fame and the Sports Hall of Fame in New Jersey. Well, there you go. Simple explanation of the rules of the game, new information on alternative football leagues like Arena Football, the CFL, and the NFL Europe. 20 years ago. A fantastic gridiron glossary. Fascinating highlights of some of the game's greatest teams, players, and moments. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll talk to you soon. skin but made of leather. A Wilson brand bearing the signature NFL Commissioner Paul Tagliabue, inflated between 12.5 and 13.5 pounds, between 11 and 11 and a quarter inches long, between 28 and 28.5 inches in circumference around its long dimension, between 21 and 21 and a quarter inches in circumference around its shorter middle dimension, shaped like a prolate spheroid, tapering at each end. The red zone was so named because it represents the area where a red flashing light should go off. This is where it counts. Don Shula, longtime NFL coach, called it the green zone because this was where the money